Finland could win Eurovision 2025. Yes, I am serious. It's only 2 years since Finland suffered heartbreak at Eurovision, finishing second in 2023. This year, with a little help from a 2020 fan favourite, Finns have the chance to make things right. That fan favourite is Erika Vikman, and she is back in the Finnish national final this year alongside 6 other competitors. The Finnish national selection, in my opinion, is one of the strongest in Europe, so we're going to go through each of the songs today. We're going to build up to that big winner potential from Erika later in the video, so don't go anywhere. Quickly before we start, as always, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoy it. All of my socials and my editor Jay's socials are in the description, and if you'd like to support the channel, you can do so financially on Patreon and Ko-fi. All of your donations are really appreciated. You get early access to videos if you become a patron, and your name will be at the end of the video. Now, let's go through each of these 7 contenders. We're going to start with Neea River. She's participating this year with her song Nightmares. Welcome back, Cascada. This is a straight down the line pop banger, the likes of which we have seen plenty of times before. That said, this is a strong enough example of it that you feel more nostalgia to the early 2010s, which is a sound that it reflects, rather than any sense of the song feeling dated. That said, there is still a limitation here, because there's only so far you can take a concept this familiar with an audience that has heard it plenty of times before. Neea River has been trying to make it in the Finnish music industry for a long time. The Finnish music industry is notoriously difficult to get a break in, especially if you're singing in English. She's not quite as well known to the public yet, but she's very well known and very well respected in songwriting circles. She's been a fixture at songwriting camps in the Nordic countries for some time now. In that time, she's built up a lot of favors and a lot of credit with some really serious people. If they have confidence in her, then I do too. Obviously, you never know how a newer artist is going to perform on a bigger stage like this when they've never experienced it before. That said, the limited evidence we have suggests that she'll be just fine. We've already seen one short clip of her singing the song live. She actually sounds so good in this clip, I didn't actually realize it was live when I first heard it. Having spoken to others on that songwriting circuit who've worked with Neea before, she has a really good reputation for being a hustler, for working really hard, and she's not the type to let an opportunity like this slip. For that reason, I'm really confident that we're going to see the best version of her on stage. You can't fully mitigate the nerves of performing at this level for the first time, but when you're as well prepared as she surely will be, the impact of that will be minimized. That leaves where this is going to end up in the show. I wouldn't totally rule out it sneaking into the top 3. That said, I don't think the song quite has the show-stopping factor that it needs to challenge right at the very top. If the live vocals were truly mind-blowing, that could maybe change, but it's a big hill to climb. In any case, for a first shot and a first big break in the music industry in Finland, a top half of the scoreboard finish combined with chart success that she's already achieved would be a huge, huge achievement. I don't know whether UMK this year is going to be her moment to go to Eurovision, but it's clear already that it's going to result in a massive step forward in her career. This will not be the last we hear from her. We're going to move on now, and next up is Nelli Matula. She's participating this year with her song hitaammin hautaan. Nelli Matula is already a pretty established name in the Finnish music scene. She's been active in the music industry for more than a decade now. In that time, she's had 2 top 10 albums and a series of singles that have done similarly well. According to Nelli, this song is about a desire to change the direction of your life and to find new meaning in it. She expresses this in the lyrics in an actually pretty relatable way. Some of the highlights for me include talking about calling your mum, going for drinks with your friends, stopping to look at clouds, and so on. It's a warm and relatable song. It's hardly new to hear music about living in the moment and seizing opportunities that come to you, but this genuinely presents it at a slightly different angle to what you would usually expect. In addition to that, it doesn't fall into some of the traps that songs with that subject matter often fall into. I don't need to hear any more bombastic, overdone super ballads about how we only live once and we must take every opportunity. In addition to that, there's something very uniquely Finnish to expressing this concept under a title in Finnish that when translated means slowly to the grave. This song leans into a sound that is really popular in the Finnish music industry at the moment. There are countless examples of stylistically similar songs which are doing really, really well in the Finnish charts over the last year or two. One of the best examples of this would probably be Timante by Mirella, but there's lots of others. What that means is, given Nelli's stature, this was a pretty surefire hit from the off. That has proved to be true because it entered the Finnish charts at number 2 and has already proved to be a hit. In a sense, that kind of makes UMK a bit of a free hit for Nelli. Provided her live performance is up to scratch, she doesn't really have anything to lose, no matter where she finishes. There's a record of this kind of music in UMK too, and to be honest, I couldn't help but notice some stylistic similarities with Hoida Mut by Benjamin from a couple of years ago. One other key difference here though, this song is a lot less horny than Hoida Mut. I'm gonna try and be careful in this video not to lump all the different pop songs together as simply pop, because there are clear stylistic differences. But at the same time, if I was going to compare this against Nightmares, which we just talked about, or the pop songs that are still to come, unfortunately this one just doesn't quite grab me in the same way. I didn't find it catchy enough to grab me on first listen, although I know plenty of people will disagree with me on that. And while it does grow on you, meaning for a domestic audience this won't be such a problem because the UMK songs are so well known even before the show happens, the problems will start to come if at Eurovision, where most people will only hear your song once, if they don't click with it straight away, you're not going to have the second chance to impress them. I also worry a little that this song doesn't leave enough space to really grow on the stage at the national selection. This has to go from a well-made, nice to listen to pop song into a show-stopping stage performance. I think it's going to be a real challenge to deliver that. Because of that, I'm going to predict this is coming somewhere between 4th and 6th. I don't doubt that Nelli's performance is going to be great and the song is strong. It just isn't the right fit for UMK specifically. Sticking firmly in pop, we are now going to talk about Costee, who will be entering the contest this year with his song Sekaisin. Just like Nelli, Costee is well established in the Finnish music industry. He's had 3 top 10 albums since 2019, and because of that, I was quite hopeful. Unfortunately, I just feel like there's some wasted potential here. I actually really like the start of this song, and the first verse does successfully build up some tension, some energy, but unfortunately, it's totally lost when we hit the chorus, which just doesn't fit at all with the vibe that Costee has just spent 30 seconds building. You have a dark pop vibe in a minor key and a beat that is growing in intensity and urgency, before all of that atmosphere is totally lost with a major key chorus. It sounds more like it belongs in a Schlager song than anything else. One other thing that I don't quite get, but loads of Finns on Reddit and elsewhere have made this comparison, so I am going to bring it up, is that the chorus apparently sounds like Suomi Rockia, which is a rock song from 1998. I don't 100% see it, but I'm going to play them both to you now and let you be the judge.
Sekaisin, mitä musta tulee isona. Suomi rockia kirkon kylällä. Suomi rockia iltapäivällä.
Ultimately, the song is a problem that cannot be overcome, not with staging and not with a great live vocal performance. I am sure that he will sing it well live, but there are so few opportunities for him to shine, and so few opportunities to elevate the performance. For that reason, I'm really struggling to see how anything can stop it from falling flat. In most national finals, this would probably still do pretty well, but in UMK, in any year recently, you can't afford to simply be alright. You have to be exceptional. Unfortunately, that means, as it stands, Costee is my tip to come last in this selection. I do want to say that I don't mean any kind of disrespect to him as an artist, because he's clearly talented, and this isn't a bad song. It just doesn't quite live up to what I would have hoped to hear, and there are stronger packages that will outshine it on the night. We've been through 3 up-tempo pop songs so far, so now we're going to change gear slightly and go to a ballad. That is Viivi, who will be participating in UMK this year with her song Aina. Firstly, I want to say that I really love the pun that Viivi plays with her Instagram username. Now that's out the way, let's get back to what we were doing. If there is one thing that Viivi has guaranteed with this song, it is a long-running flow of royalties to her accounts, because this will be played at every wedding in Finland for years. They really go all in on the wedding bridal vibe. She's surrounded by nature, she's wearing a wedding dress, they've made her as angelic as possible, and in turn, that actually makes her the ideal messenger for this kind of song. This is a really beautiful beautiful ballad, and it stands out from the rest of the songs in the selection. It also thematically could not be more different from the ballad that was the frontrunner last year. That was Paskana by Saara Sipilä. That song was about grief and loss, and as a result, it had a massive impact. Hopefully for Viivi, this song, though about something totally different, will have a similar result. Everything about this song is just so warm and beautiful, and it's emotional to listen to it, even for someone who doesn't speak Finnish, because I read the subtitles and it still makes me feel something special. It doesn't quite hit the same level as Paskana for me, because that kind of raw and visceral emotion that Saara Sipilä displayed was really special. But Viivi does still have the live performance to elevate it to that. That is one of the big strengths of this song that the two we just talked about don't have. Ballads like this have heaps of space to display your talents vocally, to elevate them live, and to stage them in a really flexible set of different ways. That means it's quite difficult to predict exactly what we're going to see from Viivi live on stage. It also means we can be really excited, because I'm sure that with the right creative team behind it, this could be really gorgeous when we see it next month. It's also really good to see a song like this that, at least for me personally, doesn't feel overly schmaltzy. I know that won't be the same for everyone, but for me, it felt really sincere, and it didn't go into the usual trap of becoming stereotypical and relying on all of the same cliches that you hear in almost every love song. When it comes to results, I think there is a lot to be optimistic about if you're Viivi right now. Firstly, I think this song is absolutely on to win the jury vote. That might only be worth 25% at UMK, but this is the kind of thing that segment rewards. Between that and the connection that I think a lot of viewers will feel with this, especially older viewers, I think that Viivi will finish the show in the top 3. I don't think she's likely to win, but you cannot rule it out. I would be very happy to see Viivi lift the trophy, even though she's not my favourite of this selection, and it would be richly deserved if she did. The same cannot be said for the next song that we have to talk about. After I filmed this video, serious allegations emerged against the band One Morning Left, specifically against one of the members relating to his alleged communication in an inappropriate fashion with minors. They've since been removed from the competition, and you can see the statement that the band released and the statement that UMK released on screen now. The statement was clearly issued by the other members of the band, so I'm going to leave it on screen for 10 seconds or so that you can read it. After that, we're going to move on with the next segment of the video. For obvious reasons, we will not be including the original section that I recorded about Puppy. It's time for a palate cleanser, and that comes in the form of the next song. That is Made Of by Goldilocks. Goldilocks is the first artist from North Korea to participate in the Finnish selection.
She describes herself as an ordinary girl from North Korea.
In all seriousness, she wrote this song in Berlin with her brother Lauri, who has also previously written for Saara Sipilä. The other songwriter is Topi Kilpinen, who has previously worked with Bess. That said, neither of these songwriters wrote the songs that those artists entered into UMK with. Given the vibe of the song, it makes a lot of sense that this was produced and recorded in Berlin, where Goldilocks lives. I want to start with her voice, which I absolutely love. There's a certain quality to it that I just find so appealing, and the style of music fits it perfectly. At the same time, I do recognize this style of cursive singing can be really divisive. And one particularly out-of-pocket comment on the Eurovision Reddit compared it to this vine.
Welcome to my kitchen. We have bananas and avocado.
Cursive singing is hardly new, and plenty of very successful artists like Sia and other also do this. That said, I can see why people find it grating, no matter how much I like it in this specific context. Stylistically, this song sticks way out from the other pop and pop-adjacent songs in this selection, and that could really play to Goldilocks' advantage. She is sailing in a sea full of synth, riding on a boat that is also synth, but different synth, and also guitar. There's something really positive to be said for how well put together this record feels, while at the same time maintaining the right amount of rough around the edges ruggedness that this kind of style of music really demands to make it feel truly authentic. This wouldn't be out of place on the radio basically anywhere. And while of course it is the Eurovision Song Contest and not the would sound good on the radio contest, it does count for something. When it comes to a prediction, I'm mainly just worried that people won't get it. With the volume of pop on offer, if there is something that people find more accessible, it could be at this song's expense. The same goes for the style of singing. For that reason, as much as I love the song, I'm going to have to say that it's going to come either 5th or 6th. That's a terrible injustice and would represent a massive robbery, but it has no reflection on how amazing Goldilocks is as an artist. Hopefully, this won't be the last we see of them in UMK. We have one more song to talk about, and in my opinion, it's a song that could win not just UMK, but Eurovision as well. Before I did that, I want to quickly talk about my overall impressions of UMK and the direction in which the show is going. Last year, I was there in Finland to see it for myself, and I stood by my belief that it was the single best national final format of any country in Eurovision. The proof is in the pudding this year in terms of the commercial success of the songs so far. That said, I do have a couple of lingering concerns that I'd love to see addressed in future editions. Don't get me wrong, if the production does take the step up that I'm expecting it to take this year, this will probably still be the #1 national final for me. You'll have to wait until I redo my national finals tier list in March to be sure of that though. That said, I do find myself wanting a little more from this lineup in a couple of ways. Firstly, Finland's metal scene is so rich and so varied, as well as being one of the biggest and most culturally significant and influential in the world. This makes me all the more irritated that all we have for that in this show is puppy. Secondly, I do really love seeing traditional folk elements incorporated into these national finals in some way. We haven't seen that in UMK in quite some time now. There were some potential songs that could have fit the bill here. For example, we know that Vilma Jaar submitted a song and was rejected, and I would really love to see artists like her in the show in future. At the same time, given how well the formula is working for them domestically at present, I don't blame them for just keeping on the same track. One element that I haven't quite decided whether it's a good thing or a bad thing is that most of these songs don't feel like they immediately lend themselves to a performance at UMK or a performance at Eurovision. Most, if not all of these songs would qualify for the final. It's just about maximizing the amount of headroom available to elevate it on stage. With that naturally comes excitement because it gives you the potential to be really shocked in a good way by how something actually looks when you see the live performance. But it is a lingering doubt in my mind, and I hope I am proven wrong on this. Luckily, there is one song that does not face any of those problems. This is a song that should not only win UMK, but has a serious shot at winning Eurovision too. That song is Komme by Erika Vikman. Finland, this could finally be your year. After the heartbreak of 2023, I am 100% serious when I say this is your chance to make things right. Erika Vikman has had one close brush with Eurovision before, falling just short with Cicciolina in 2020. That came on that infamous and traumatic night where we lost both her and Dotter in Sweden within an hour of each other. Now, she's back. She has evolved and she's here to win. Because this song has so much potential, it's frightening. I have rarely been this excited for any national final song at such an early stage. To be honest, I probably haven't felt like this since Cha Cha Cha. Komme is Erika's reclamation of the mantle of the yearly UMK Horny song, held temporarily by Benjamin and then Sini Sabotage. But now it's returned to its rightful owner. Nobody does it like the original, and that rings true for Erika. As well as that, this song is a retro disco banger, catchy as all hell, with a show-stopping rave-esque finish that just puts the icing on the cake. I just know that this part in particular is going to blow everyone away when we see it live. As always for Erika though she sings about sex and sensuality, that isn't all this song is about. This is about freeing yourself from preconceptions of others and taking control of your own sexuality. In the context of Finland in particular, this feels particularly important. There's no denying that outwardly, Finns can be very reserved. The last 2 years though have really shown the effect it has on the Finnish public when a song gives them permission to let loose. I actually spoke to Windows 95 Man last year about this exact phenomenon. This song runs along those same lines as Cha 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 and No Rules in that respect. Because it's about sex and sensuality, it does touch a slightly more raw nerve. That does make it more of a gamble, but it was always likely that we were going to see something like this from Erika. And to be honest, had this not been so utterly 100% her style, I would have been disappointed. To be honest, I'm not really sure what detractors of this song really hoped for. This is just not to some people's taste, and that's fine. But others have made criticisms that, to be honest, I have a lot of trouble sympathizing with. There seems to have been an expectation in some Eurofan circles that we were going to get a kind of Cicciolina 2.0. That would have firstly been really underwhelming, and secondly, it completely ignores the fact that Cicciolina was like Erika's announcement of becoming a totally different kind of artist. She has obviously evolved massively in the 5 years since then. If you weren't expecting her to push boundaries musically and use weird chord progressions and produce something radical and divisive, then you simply have not been paying attention. Others have said that they hope for something a bit more like Ruoska, which was her song with Käärijä last year. That's a great song, but it is first and foremost a Käärijä song, written by Käärijä's songwriters and produced by Käärijä's producers. She was never going to bring something like that to UMK, no matter how good it was. Though I will say that one fun little bit of trivia here is that Erika allegedly did suggest to Käärijä that they should submit it to UMK. Käärijä, presumably still traumatized by his experience in 2023, said no. Finally, and this is the group I have the least patience or sympathy for, there's a certain pearl clutching that has been going on in some quarters, including, disappointingly, by some Eurovision content creators about this being vulgar or disgusting in some way, overly sexual, or all of the above. My response to this is basically, grow up. What I find increasingly bizarre is this increasingly prevalent attitude in recent years where, for whatever reason, so many people have suddenly decided that any kind of media, whether it's books or film or music, that incorporates any kind of sex or sensuality is in some way gross or worse, exploitative. When did we all become such wimps about this? And besides, the video for komme literally had an intimacy coordinator. If there's one person who's doing this right, it's Erika Vikman. Whatever the answer to these questions are, and there are legitimate debates about the place of sex and the place of sensuality in popular culture, this kind of music is made more important by that. And the answer is not simply to look away from it all as if it doesn't exist. It's a fundamental part of the human experience, whether you like it or not. I'm going to leave that all behind now and focus on what we should be focusing on, which is the absolute boundless potential that this song has. It is so clearly tailor-made to be performed live, and very few people can sell a song like Erika Vikman can. Every second of this is dripping with drama and opportunities to elevate it in a live context. They've already done this once with the music video. Listening to the song is one thing, but when you add the video, you already have something really special. Nobody else in this edition of UMK grabs your attention from the first second in the way that Erika Vikman does, and then holds on to it until the very last. This song is really challenging vocally, with big notes in each chorus and in the speed up at the end, which will be a challenge to deliver live. I've heard some people raise concerns about this. I would say that I find it quite unlikely that somebody with previous experience of this competition and a particularly good idea of how important it is to really get the vocals right when you're doing it live would enter with a song that she couldn't sing. Maybe I'm delusional, but for now, I'm really not concerned on this front. In fact, I actually think it's one of this song's biggest opportunities. The kind of vocal prowess that is demanded here opens up a really good shot at some high jury scores. That could apply both at the contest in Finland and at Eurovision. The thing I find most exciting is we aren't even at the peak of this song's powers yet. That's because at UMK, the man who produced one of the best Eurovision stagings of all time for Ireland in 2024 will be the creative consultant for the show. If there is anyone who can realize 100% of the potential that this song has, it's him. This performance is going to be absolute cinema, and I cannot wait to see what they produce together. 47,000 Finns in total watched my previous 2 videos about Finland, where I talked about how they got so good at Eurovision and about my experience at UMK last year. I will miss UMK dearly, and I was really hoping to go back. Sadly, it's just not going to be possible for me this time around. That said, I wanted to close by sending a message to those 47,000 people and to all of the Finns who are watching this right now. Please vote for this. We have waited half a decade to see Erika Vikman return to this stage, and her potential this time is even higher than it was in 2020. This could be your chance to win Eurovision again, but you have to make the bold choice and send this song. Erika Vikman helped bring about the revolution in UMK from 2020 onwards. If she finally got the chance to reap what she has sown by winning this year, it would be such a poetic way to end that saga. Finns, I am counting on you. Do not mess this up. In a few weeks, we will know whether I will be celebrating or heartbroken after the show. If you'd like to see that in either case, you will be able to right here on this channel. So please do subscribe and make sure to like the video, as I said before, if you enjoyed it. For now, thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you in 7 days.